Hi guys, Nick Jennison, Guitar Interactive GI+. It's Monday. We're doing the thing that we do on Mondays, which is hang out and talk about the guitar. Now, if my voice starts to break up or starts to sound a little bit hoarse today, fear not. It's because I had a gig yesterday. I was on let's call it a boys' holiday this weekend. And I'm a little bit hoarse sounding, as I'm sure you can tell. But I'm happy to be here. We're discussing a continuation of last week's topic, which was melodic minor in the blues. Today, as I'm sure you can hear, we're going to be dipping our toe into the wonderful world of minor blues, and we will draw some conclusions for the old dominant blues thing too, but we said we were going to discuss minor blues. I wasn't happy leaving you guys hanging with that, so I thought, you know what, let's just do one more. Let's do ourselves one more stream on the subject of, air quotes, clever blues, if you want to call it that. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, before we go any further, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you on board. If you're a brand new streamer, it is great to have you. Thanks for taking this time to join us. We think you're going to get a kick out of the stuff that we've got for you today, and of course, if you're one of our returning streamers who's with us every week or most weeks, it is lovely to have you back. I really do appreciate it. A couple of things you will probably have noticed: we have increased, not increased, we've maybe improved is the word, the resolution of our main camera, so things are looking extra crispy this week. We've been doing some behind the scenes work. Hopefully things are looking really super sharp. So if you've noticed an increase in image quality, let us know, because we've been working hard behind the scenes to try and improve some stuff for you guys. Anyway, so a few bits and bobs. Again, if you're a new streamer, great to have you on board. If you're a returning streamer, it's great to have you back. If you're enjoying what we're doing here, a couple of ways you can help us keep the lights on. Hopefully the lights are actually going to stay on today. I've selected purple, which feels like kind of a nice place to be for the blues. Hopefully they're gonna last. We'll see. The lights have been going off recently, so if you want to help me get some better lights, you can do the following. You can go to this URL, which is guitarinteractivemagazine.com/GI-plus. That is the word plus, Plus, where you can go and subscribe to GI+, which is the lesson platform from Guitar Interactive Magazine, where we have lessons from the likes of myself, Lewis Turner, Andy James, Andy Wood, Rick Graham, Tom Quayle, Giorgio Cerci, Michael Caswell, Manelli Jamal, Don Alder, Ian Simo, Sam Bell. Who haven't I mentioned? I'm sure I'll have missed a few off. Oh, me too. So we got lessons from all of those on all manner of topics. We think you'll like it. It's also what enables us to keep bringing these streams to you guys. So if you want to keep getting some free, high-quality guitar information, you are always welcome to come on board. We love having you. These streams will always be free. But if you want to help us and support us in what we're doing here, you can go to this URL and do that. Also, you can give us a thumbs up on whatever platform you happen to be watching on. And, of course, you can share this with your guitar playing friends. We'd like to get this to as many guitar players as we can and help as many blues players with their progression into the realms of the jazzy, let's say. Oh yeah, and don't forget, if you got a comment, we'd love to hear from you. If you just want to chat, you want to kind of shoot the breeze, that is absolutely fine. I'd love to hear from you. But also, if you have questions, don't forget you can comment your questions down below and we'll answer your questions at the 45-minute mark. Anyway, speech over. Let's check in with our chat. Let's see how everybody's getting on. And then we'll get into the meat of today's session. First of all, Steve Ford says, picture is much sharper. Right, I'm pleased to hear that, Steve, because we've been labouring behind the scenes to do that. We've got a number of stream improvements coming your way, and this is one of them. So you can expect some upgrades over the next couple of weeks. We don't like to rest on our laurels here. So anyway, I'm glad that's working out for you. Also, let's just check in to see who else we have in the house. Wow, Nick in 4K, the missus is starting to take an interest. I would have thought it would have been better for keeping the kids away from the fire, if I'm completely honest. But hey, I'm pleased to hear that. Thank you very much. And if your missus is like me and needs new glasses, then that's fine too. Anyway, so very flattered though, very flattered. So who else do we have? Let's see who's in the house. Sacred Godslayer was the first one in. Unfortunately, can't join us tonight, but that's okay. I'm sure we'll catch you on the replay, and we'll definitely catch you next week. I am certain. Marcin is here. Jimmy Cunningable. It's Cunningable. I think a first-time commenter. I'd remember a name like that. Jimmy, it's great to have you on board. Sweet insight into the blues. I look forward to it. I look forward to it too. Response Audio is in the house. Response Audio always has great comments. We love to have you on board, as does PJ and David Yates, who always has the best stories. Larry Warren is tuning in from British Columbia, where there are some forest fires. Larry, hope you're keeping safe, and of course, you know, we wish well to everybody who's up there. there. Hope everybody, like I say, stay safe. Look after yourselves, whatever it is you're doing up there. Stay safe, Larry, says Marcin. Can totally... yeah, totally agree. Timothy Appling says, hi Nick and fellow guitarist, just made it back from 6 days in the North Carolina mountains and need a good GI live stream workup. Well, I think we got a good one for you today, Timothy. We're going to get into some melodic minor stuff in the context of a minor blues, but as we've done in the previous weeks, we're going to kind of frame this in a way that is friendly for guitarists at all levels. So we'll make some conclusions for you guys that are already au fait with melodic minor and all that sort of stuff, but if you're not, we're going to give you some little cheats that you can use to get there. So we'll do our best for you. I reckon, Timothy, you in particular are going to get some good stuff out of this. Who else is in the house? Mark Crandall is here. Wildfires in Canada and Washington State, hurricane and earthquake here in Southern California. Man alive, it is extreme weather all over the place. I've been lucky enough not to be in a Californian earthquake in the time I've been over there. Being in an earthquake a couple of times is pretty scary. Been next to an erupting volcano one time, but I was on a boat, so I was fine. But again, pretty scary. Kim is in the house. Kim, it's great to see you. Kim loves a bit of blues, so I think we're going to improve some of Kim's blues playing today as well. Steve Ford, we've already said hello to, but it bears saying again, Steve, it's great to see you. PJ has been playing around with sound on sound this week, a Gilmore type approach. I have to say, I can lose myself for hours with that. I can totally empathize with that, where we have like the long delay and then you kind of play on top of yourself. That's a very, very cool thing to mess with. I like that a lot. Jason Carter is tuning in from Stuttgart in Germany. Jason, it is great to see you. Daryl Queen is in the house. Daryl, good to see you. Who else is in the house? Hank Staines, we've already said hello to, but it reminds me of Morris Minor and the Majors. Great joke man from Yorkshire. Love a bit of that. Love a bit of that. It's a great band name. We're really into that. I have a band name of my own that I'm gonna use after this weekend's frivolities, but I can't tell you what it is because it's rude and we'll get demonetized. Craig Tom is in the house. Craig Tom's tuning in from Germany. Hope everyone's fine. Can't take it for granted these days for sure, man. Yeah, hope everybody's keeping well. It's a scary world out there, but the guitar is, you know, a place where we can come and find some comfort in the wonderful world of melodic minor. Rory Lisbon says, hey ho, Rory, it's great to see you. Great to have you on board. Nick Harris is here. I know a couple of you guys have gone and got Nick's books. I can heartily recommend them. They are very, very good indeed. Who else do we have real quick? Let's just blast through some, see if there's anybody who haven't said hello to yet. Fog Hornish is in the house. Fog Hornish, good to have you on board. Who else do we have? Making sure we've got no questions that I'm going to miss. If you have questions, do make sure you drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, Mal Riley is here. West Coast hurricane didn't make it over to Arizona so far. Nice to have clouds here to break the high temperatures for sure. An aptly named part of the world is Arizona. That is for sure. Beautiful place. Very, very strikingly handsome. But like, man, hot on a level that I can't deal with. And last but not least, D40's in the house. It's been a while since tuning in. I am good, my man. Great to have you on board. So anyway, listen, right, let's get stuck in with melodic minor for the wonderful world of the minor blues. But a quick recap before we go any further. So last week, we discussed, in the context of a slow blues in B, which is this guy. Just going to play and talk, because why not? We discussed the idea, let's go to the close-up cam, that we can take B minor pentatonic, turn the guitar up a little bit. And when it gets to the 4 chord, we can move this note to here. For some melodic minor action. And so on and so forth. Now, that is really good fun. Now, just to recap what's going on there, what we're doing in that context, we're not going to go back over this, by the way. This was last week's stream, but if any of you want to catch that, you can catch it on the replay. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, give us a subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, what we're doing there, to all intents and purposes, we're taking B minor pentatonic. We're converting into B Dorian by plugging in this note. So real quick, for our friends who aren't quite sure what we're talking about, we're going to be playing 10, 7, 10, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 10, 7. If we plug in the 9th fret on our B string, we get some Dorian. If we then take the 7th degree of our Dorian, our 7th note, and move it up by a semitone, we get B melodic minor, which works really well over an E7. Now, in this case, the E7 is the 4 chord of our blues. So we played this. When we get here, that's a good spot for our melodic minor. That's going to sound really, really good. So that's something we discussed last week. For today's example, rather than waiting until the 4 chord to go to our melodic minor, we're going to start right away with the melodic minor. We're going to play it over the 1 chord, and it's going to sound very, very bold, very jazzy, a little bit kind of, I guess, a little bit kind of detective drama from like a particular era, you know, like the flip your collar and tip your trilby kind of detective drama. I think it's quite a cool sound. Let me show you how we're going to get it. So real quick, for this instance, we're going to be in C minor pentatonic, and I'll give you guys a quick cheat on how to get there, because we're going to jam on this together. So what we'll get is we'll get box number 1 of C minor pentatonic, which in this case will be 8, 11, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10. Let's just play with that first, real quick. Because all the stuff we do today, so everybody gets a chance to play, is going to be based around this. So I'm going to give you guys a quick chance to jam before we go any further. Okay, you take a turn, C minor pentatonic. And then what we're going to do, you keep playing, we're going to plug in the 10th fret on the high E string and on the B string to give us something resembling B Dorian, which will play over the 1 chord like this. Now I'm going to cue you in when it's time to play that. B minor pentatonic with the addition of E10 and B10. Sorry, C minor pentatonic. You take a turn, C minor pentatonic. You play now with B10 and with E10. That should be giving you something resembling Dorian. I'm going to take a turn. I'm going to get this, because we have to change it for this chord. So I'm going to play this little bit too. You take a turn with your C Dorian. So it's C minor pentatonic with E10 and with B10. And I'm going to stop you there. The reason we stop there is because, here we go. Now, this is a question from Hank Stein. Should be using natural minor when descending. Never sure what to do. Right, we're going to get very quickly into this. So what Hank is referring to is the traditional way that melodic minor is taught, as it is, as it's used in classical music, let's say, which is where we play the melodic minor ascending, and then when we descend, we play natural minor. So melodic minor in classical music has an ascending and a descending form. You can ignore that. So that is something that only applies to music from a certain time period. Now, any music that uses the melodic minor the way that jazz musicians use melodic minor, we completely abandon this business of ascending and descending form. We just forget it. We literally just play the ascending form, if you want to call that, the actual melodic minor. So don't feel like you need to use melodic minor, the natural minor descending. That's a historical artifact, let's say. A historical artifact. So we've got another quick one here. It says, hey Nick, when the chord changes, how do you keep track of your ideas with the chord when the chord switches fast? I'm going to highlight that because it's a very good question. I'm going to highlight that. We're actually going to answer that a bit later on, but I'm glad Hank asked that question about melodic minor descending, because that's something that people get confused with. You can completely forget that. So you don't need to change the scale when you're descending, playing melodic minor in contemporary music, i.e. jazz, blues, pop, rock, metal, anything like that. It's only in, let's call it classical music in the broadest sense. And that's not just music from the classical period. It's just stuff that you would kind of consider maybe orchestral music. And again, it is a relic of a certain time period. So you also find orchestral music that doesn't use that kind of descending form, but For some reason, it's something people like to talk about, just an interesting historical factoid, I guess. And there are reasons for it, and we won't get into the why, but, maybe one day. So anyway, going back to this real quick, what I want to do here is I want to show you guys a little trick on how we can turn Dorian, which is this, into a really cool, convincing melodic minor sound. Now, the formula for Dorian is, here we go, Foghornish says, that's why I found the melodic minor so confusing in the past. Glad that was cleared up. Me too, let me tell you, me too. Our friend Nick's Corsair S1 tip says a melodic minor can be seen as a major scale with a minor third. That is one way you can get to it for sure, but I think a more useful way to think about it, I'm guessing you're called Nick, and I'm called Nick too, which is fine. We like that. Nick's a good name, solid name, and that's a very true insight. But the way I like to think about it, rather than major scale with a minor third, is I prefer to think about it as a Dorian with a sharpened seventh. So Dorian with a raised seven, because it kind of sounds a bit Dorian. It doesn't really sound very major. It sounds very Dorian, but it just sounds like Dorian, only with the drama turned up a little bit. And you'll find this with all the melodic minor modes. They have a counterpart in terms of the major scale modes that they sound like, but just with the drama scale turned up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this same Dorian scale we just played, and we're going to take the 7th degree of our Dorian scale, which in this case is B flat. We're going to raise it up to be a B natural. So what we'll get is this. This is our C minor pentatonic, just the first 3 strings. So we know where that is. If we plug in these Dorian notes, we get 10 and we get 10. And if we take the 11th fret on the B string and move it up to the 12th fret, we get this, which gives us a melodic minor sound commonly associated with this chord, or there are other chords that it's associated with, like this. Kind of very crunchy thing. Nick's wife was being a bit pants. Was it your Wi-Fi, Nick? Or was it your wife being a bit pants? That's pass. Who knows? Anyway, so we've got our Dorian, we've got our melodic minor. Let me show you a little way of kind of threading these through in our minor blues. Now, the way we're going to play this, we're playing a minor blues, we're going to play it over the 1 chord. So the 1 chord in this case is going to be C minor something. Doesn't matter what. If it's a C minor 7, this will still work. If it's a C minor triad, it'll work. If it's a C minor 6, it'll definitely work. It doesn't really matter. 1 in a minor blues, you can just do this. And even if it's a bit tense, you'll get away with it. But you have to come out of that when we go to the 4 chord. You can't continue playing this over the 4 chord, otherwise it'll sound disastrous. So when it goes to that F minor, we have to shift. You'd be forgiven for thinking we can shift to the equivalent and play F melodic minor. That's going to cause some problems, but I've got some solutions for you. Modern problems require modern solutions. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'll check the chords out as I go. Here's 1. There's 4. Let's go back to 1. And here is flat 6 dominant, 5 dominant, 1. So what I'm going to get you guys to do is I'm going to get you to experiment over the 1 chord with playing not just C minor pentatonic, but C melodic minor. A quick reminder of how that's played is 11, 10, 8, 12, 10, 8, and so on and so forth. Okay, you take a turn here. So introducing C melodic minor over this C chord. It sounds really cool. I'm going to take this bit now, because here we have to change scales. You take a turn again. So over this 1 chord, you can keep playing that. My turn, I'm going to go here. You take another turn. So C minor pentatonic, C melodic minor. You can thread this however you want. I'm going to take the next turn. I'll go here. let's come out of there real quick. So I'll show you something else we can do with this. So what we've done here is we've taken minor pentatonic and we've done a few little alterations to this to make it work really, really well over our one chord. I want to show you a quick alteration we can make to the minor pentatonic to work really, really well over our four chord. So very, very quickly, let's just do this as a kind of a fingering thing. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to bar a C minor chord. That makes sense? The chord we're going to next is an F minor 7. So bearing in mind we're playing this C minor pentatonic shape, if I play this F minor 7, if you guys can see that there, or even this one here, it doesn't matter which, what I want you to do is I want you to take a quick look at this and see if any of the notes in this chord don't match with our C minor pentatonic. Are there any notes that you can see? And drop in the comments, let me know which one it is, because there's one very obvious one. So one of these notes is not in C minor pentatonic. Let me show you what we've got here. I'll play through them. So we have A fret number 8, or an F note. We have a C note on D fret number 10. We have an E flat note on G fret number 8. Pentatonic and party dress, says Nick. We love that. We have an A flat note hung up here on B fret number 9. There's an interesting one. Dave DH through with the story. A flat. So this note here, right, this note right there, fret number 9 on our B string, that's not in our minor pentatonic, but it is in our chord. PJ's through there as well. So what we get here is we get a good excuse to just plug this note into our minor pentatonic. Over the 4 chord, and we really get to sound like we know what we're doing. Now this is cool because it creates a really big contrast between this melodic minor device and this natural minor, or this Aeolian device. It's actually giving us F Dorian, but we can think about it in this instance as C Aeolian, or C natural minor. That would be fine. So we've basically taken these two notes, we've moved it to these two notes. So that gives us a cool contrast. Now, we're not going to get too deep into the weeds with this, but let me show you what it sounds like. Because what we want to achieve with this is we want to achieve something that gives you an introduction to this stuff. So this is not the be-all and end-all of melodic minor in the blues. This is just a way of kind of giving you a tasting board. Now, you guys know that it's very much my belief that you should be able to use a musical device and hear what it sounds like before you then go on and learn everything about it. You should then go on and learn everything about it, but you should be able to hear it and play it first, and that's what this is about. So this is like an intro. It's a little 101 version of this. But check this out. So here's melodic minor of chord 1. Aeolian over chord 4. Back to melodic minor. We have to change this. But we'll get to that. So once again, here we go. Melodic minor. Over chord 1, blended with Dorian. And then over chord 4. Back to chord 1. And we've got something different here. And shred, which we don't want to talk about. We're not here to shred. That's not the thing. We're here to blues. So here's a really cool comment from Nick Harrison. It says, love that sound. It's familiar, but it's being pulled into the cool category as opposed to the outside for the sake of it. Empowers new dressing gown territory. We do like that. It's, yeah, dressing gown fusion. It's a thing. It's a thing. I often put my dressing gown on and play horrible outside stuff to upset the neighbours. I'm joking. My neighbours are great, but apparently not upset by outside sounds, which is kind of, I guess, a weeder thing. So So anyway, listen, a quick brief break on this before we play any further. If you guys like this approach of starting with a known quantity and adding as few pieces of information to it as you can to get a feel for something new, a new concept like melodic minor. If you like that approach and you think, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I could use that to learn the modes of the major scale? Well, I've got a great course for you. This is Mastering Modes Part 1. Just want to take a quick second and show you this. You get this as part of your GI Plus membership. So GI Plus subscribers will get this for, like, it's just included. It's included in your very, very reasonable monthly price, which is like practically almost nothing for the amount of content that you get. This is one of our favorite courses. We've had some fantastic results with our subscribers who've used this course. When we come back, I'm going to show you how to play over these chords. Rather, this chord and this very crunchy sounding chord here. Again, with the minimum of effort. But first, this is what you get in Mastering Modes Part 1. Modes. What are modes? How do I use them? When do I use them? Well, modes are one of the things that the pros use to add excitement and colour to the guitar parts, and there is no reason why you can't use them too. Now, for some reason, people, especially certain online guitar teachers, love to make modes seem complicated and scary, but I'm here to tell you they really, really aren't. And in fact, if you know the pentatonic scale, I can show you how to play modes with just 2 extra notes. In this course, I'll show you how to play killer sounding guitar solos using modes without any of the mystery. You'll learn how to play musical sounding solos all across the neck in any key, crucially without sounding like you're just running up and down scales. So, if you're ready to take this next step with me, click the link to find out more. So that's a brief look at Mastering Modes Part 1, which is our introductory course into the wonderful world of the modes of the major scale. Now, the whole premise behind this course is that you already know the minor pentatonic. How can I then turn that into something a little more... well, how can we turn that into a mode of the major scale, whatever you want to think about that as, with the least possible fiddling and the least possible effort? So it's really much, it's really, like I say, kind of a shortcut into getting into this stuff. And it's a really good way to get your ear around things and to learn how things sound and learn how things are applied and how you can actually make music with these concepts before you then go on and learn the rest of the stuff. But learning the rest of the stuff is way easier when you have, I guess, musical vocabulary developed with them already, because you know what you're listening for. You'll be able to hear something and go, yeah, that's right, or yeah, that's wrong, etc., etc. So anyway, I promise you a little something over the, in this case, the 9th and 10th bars of our minor blues. Let's talk about what those chords are in this instance. What we're dealing with here is an A flat dominant 7. Pardon me, I had to cough there. I may cough again, because as you can hear, a little bit hoarse. So yes, we have an A flat dominant 7. We have a G dominant 7. Now, this is a really interesting and useful one, right? Our G dominant 7, what we've got going on here, is something that crops up in both dominant and minor blueses. So we're going to start with that. Now here's a really cool little shortcut that we can use to get into the territory of this crunchy, crispy sounding chord with, I guess, little fuss. Now there is more we can do with this, but let's begin just by taking a look at the chord and seeing what doesn't map to our C minor pentatonic scale. So once again, C minor pentatonic. What do we have to change here? So the notes we've got are a G note, which is right here on fret number 10 on the A string. That maps. We have a B natural note. That doesn't map so much. And up here we have an F note, and that does map. So this is the problem note right here. Now what we can do right away is we can just take our C minor pentatonic scale. This is something Rick Graham talks about kind of at some length. It's a real cool little shortcut to get some super lockering action on the go. Now, super lockering we'll talk about in a minute, but that's what you play over this if we were going to play that, because that's what we refer to as functional dominant. It resolves to a chord of 5 away, so don't worry about that too much. What we're going to do instead is we're going to take our minor pentatonic, we're going to take the minor pentatonic, and instead of playing C, we're just going to take all of our C's and we're going to drop them down to B's. Let me show you what that'll look like. What we get here is we have 11 and then 7 on our high E string, 11 and 8 as we had in our previous string, 10, 8, we just had that, 9, 8, 10, 8, 11, 7. Once again, now this is a really fun little cheat to get into the realms of these crunchy sounding chords. Let me show you how it's going to work. Okay, it's coming up, not right yet, but here. Hear that? Now that was deliberately obtuse, but this time I'm going to blend it in a bit more, with a bit more finesse, let's say. Okay, keep your eyes peeled. Here it comes. What I'm going to get you guys to do is I'm going to get you to do that little part of the chord progression. So I'm going to hand you it with C minor pentatonic, but then when we move to that 5 chord, we're going to play, instead of C minor pentatonic with all the C's turned into B's. A quick reminder, we have, in fret numbers at least, 11, 7, 11, 8, 10, 8, 9, 8, 10, 8, 11, 7. This gives us something that we might refer to as the super Locrian pentatonic. In this case, G super Locrian pentatonic, but it's just a fun way of kind of getting there without too much fuss and just showing what it sounds like, getting used to the sound of particularly hitting this note and resolving it to its neighbor here, or even its kind of very cool and very laid back sounding neighbor here, or even using it as a pivot to get straight into melodic minor if that's something you want to do. But we're not going to worry too much about that because I'm just going to hand you that chord progression, that chord in that spot. I will tell you when to go to B's and I'll tell you when to use C's. That makes sense? Use C's, use B's. And you're going to take that part of the progression. So I'll go here. Take a turn, C minor pentatonic. Now with the B's, back to C minor pentatonic. And now back to the B's. There we go. My turn. You take a turn. C minor pentatonic, now with the B's, now back to C's, and now back to B's. Now that is very cool, very, very good fun. Now what we're actually getting here is we're starting to get the notes from A flat melodic minor. Stick with me on this, right? A flat melodic minor gives us the equivalent notes of G superlocrian. But here's the thing. Oftentimes, when you say to guitar players, play A flat melodic minor over this G to get G superlocrian, well, the emphasis ends up a bit wrong. The emphasis ends up a bit wrong. It's bizarre. But you end up with notes and lines that maybe don't sound quite right because we just jump to the scale shape. We go, oh, okay, scale shape, let's do this. So I'll do it here. And we go, well, that didn't sound quite right. Yeah, okay, you can go a little deeper than that, but for me, I feel like moving the fewer parts here, is a way of just getting your ear around this stuff. Now, if you wanted to plug more notes in and think a little bit more deeply on this, I guess, or just a tiny bit further, you could then take the superlocrian pentatonic idea, and you could take the idea of taking the notes of C Phrygian and move those down. That's a way of thinking about it. It's probably a slightly clumsy way of thinking about it, but even still, what we end up with is this lovely way of getting into this fantastic superlocrian sound. Now, this also applies, this works really well over our slow blues too. So check this out. We're back in B here. That's the wrong slow blues. This is the other slow blues. We're in B here. Loads of silly stuff there. Just getting a bit damp, but I'll show you how this is going to work really well. So, coming up to the 5 chord here, we wouldn't do it over this one. With reasons. We would do it here. The reason we do this is the only time we use superlocrian and have it really work. The only time we really use it in this particular kind of context of over a dominant, crunchy wee dominant chord is generally if I say only. I'm going to back out of that because it's not the only time. You can use it whenever you want. You can use it over superstition at the next wedding you play if you so desire. You can play it any time you want. But the most common time to use it, and the time that probably sounds the most familiar, and maybe the best, that's not a judgment for me to make, is when we play it over a 5 chord that is resolving to a 1 chord. Now, because in our typical blues, the first time we hit the 5 chord, we go to the 4 chord, we wouldn't treat this 5 chord with that superlocrian scale. We would, however, treat it when we go to our turnaround. We would treat it when we go to the turnaround at the very, very end of our chord progression. So it's useful for that, but I'm going to give you one more little tip, because there is one chord that is just troublesome in a minor blues, and it's this one. So we're in C. Let me show you the chord in question. We've got this. That guy there, that's a very troublesome chord. Now this chord in this case is A flat dominant 7. Now what we play over this, to get our A flat dominant 7, is we would play, in this instance, the notes of E flat melodic minor to get an A flat Lydian dominant. Now that sounds cool and all, but there's a way we can get it using just our minor pentatonic and some cool shortcuts. So let's have a look at some of the notes that are in here. So real quick, let's take a look at this and see what's in this chord. You guessed it, that isn't in our minor pentatonic scale. Well, first of all, this note isn't there. That's an A flat note. We've already talked about that. That's in the 4 chord. So we know where to put that. That's fine. This note is in a minor pentatonic, so we're safe. This one here, well, would you look at that? What's that? That is a G flat. Now, where is G flat in relation? To our minor pentatonic. In relation to the minor pentatonic, you guessed it, it's the blues note. So if we were to play, we were avoiding this 5th, and instead we played this flat 6 and the flat 5, we can get this. Which you might think of as Locrian Natural 2. It sounds really cool. Let me show you how that intersects with what we've already got now that you know what you're looking for. Here it comes. Now let me get it again for you because it's quick. Here it comes. Lots of fun to be had there. Lots and lots of fun to be had there. So, to recap, in the context of our minor blues, here are some strategies for including melodic minor. You can play C melodic minor over the 1 chord in a C minor blues. If it were a different minor blues, play the melodic minor of whatever that chord happens to be. When it comes to the 4 chord, we play the Dorian of that 4 chord. Easiest way to get that is to play the Aeolian of whatever key the blues is in, because that's just going to result in Dorian. Just an easy way to get there, right? Super cheap and easy way to get there. Over the flat 6 dominant, we play the equivalent of Lydian dominant from here. Easiest way to get that is by playing the flat 5 with the home key, the flat 6 with the home key. Over the 5 chord, super Locrian. Now that applies over any functional 5 chord, whether you're in major, whether you're in minor, whether you're in dominant, is fine. 2 5-1s. That works too. Just a real super cheap and easy way to get some super Locrian flavor into your sound. It just plain works. So anyway, we're going to turn our attention to your questions. So if you have questions, drop them in the comments down below. I just want to take a quick second and show you this. Now, here's some good news for you guys, right? I was on the bill for a little festival up my neck of the woods just last night. It was great fun. And who did I happen to bump into who was also on the bill? Ian Simo. So check it out. This is Ian Simo's slide guitar for standard tuning course. Ian has informed me that he has part 2 ready to go. So it's coming. But in the meantime, this is Ian Simo's slide guitar for standard tuning. Got loads of great stuff that feeds into what we're doing here. Check it out when we come back. We'll be answering your questions.
Hi, my name is Ian Simo and I'd like to share with you my course on slide guitar for standard tuning. This is a 10-part series in which we're going to explore the essential slide hand techniques and pick and hand techniques. We're also going to take a look at rhythm playing with the slide. So we're going to look at how to integrate the slide with major and minor triads. Really enjoyed putting this series together. It comes complete with some backing tracks for all of the example phrases and exercises so you can practice along, and it comes complete with tablature and notation for all the example phrases and exercises. So if you've been interested in getting into slide, I highly encourage you to check out this course, this 10-part series on slide guitar for standard tuning.
So there you go, guys. That's a little bit of a look at Ian Simo's slide guitar for standard tuning course. Gotta say, been about a year since I saw Simo, and he's gotten better. Holy crap, can you believe that? Like, he was the guy, and now he's even more the guy. So really looking forward to bringing some more content to you from Ian, because just so good, so good. So anyway, we got some questions. We will be answering some questions. We've got some very kind comments coming in. Just want to take a quick second as well and highlight some of the very, very fine observations from, I don't know where they've gone. There was a fella, oh, here he is, yeah, Nick's Corsair S1 tips. Got some really, really great observations coming on here. So Nick clearly knows his stuff, right? Clearly knows his stuff. So for example, he's talking about semitone movements. These are some concepts that you should definitely be exploring as you go forward. So Nick, I just want you to know that I'm not ignoring you here, and I do agree, right? Everything you're saying here is totally correct. It just may be a little bit further on than the stuff we're trying to look at today, but thank you for your observations. Very, very true, and they are absolutely on the money. Absolutely on the money. So anyway, listen, let's highlight some of these questions. We're going to start with this one from Live to Play Guitar, a friend of the stream who we always like to have on board. Says, hey Nick, so when the chord changes, is it best to hit the note we switched out of the pentatonic? Now, this is a question. This is a big question, which is how hard do I hit the changes? So, okay. Here's the thing, right? It depends on the artistic effect that you're going for. If you really want to make it clear that you that you have highlighted the changes, if you go, I am going to really make this change obvious, then the best way to do it is to hit the notes that have moved. That makes sense. So the best way to really highlight a change is to hit the notes that are not the same. So let me show you. This is an example of that. So we're really going to hit these changes here. Super obvious that we're hitting those changes by targeting, as you say, the notes that we switched out with the pentatonic. However, if you want to disguise the change somewhat, then one of the best ways to do it is to try and hit notes that are constant across both chords. So check this out, right? Let's go to the close-up cam for it. like deliberately blues with this because I'm trying to highlight the difference here. So I guess what's kind of going down with this is it depends on how much you want to make those changes pop. So if you really want to highlight the changes, then make a point of landing on the notes and really emphasizing the notes that are different from chord to chord. But if you want to disguise them and you want to make it, if you want to minimize the impact of the change, which is something that sometimes you will want to do depending upon the artistic effect you're going for, that's up to you to decide, by the way. You would avoid those notes and you would try and play notes that are constant, that are maybe shared across the chords. That can work really, really well. And they can also be a good way to flow between changes by highlighting notes that are common to both chords, but also having notes that are different. So an example of that might be something like this. Let me see. So maybe we'd get two me's. Two me's now. So there we're trying to, again, trying to minimize the movement between those chords. So that is a very, very good question, though. Very good question. So here's another one from our friend Marcin, friend of the stream. Says, do you use gain stacking both in real effects and in modeling devices? I've been introduced to this idea by my friend, and the results were instantly there. I do, but here's the thing. Anyone who uses a high gain amplifier is using gain stacking by automatically using gain stacking because there are multiple gain stages in an amplifier. So one of the reasons I think people like amp gain is that amp gain is normally involves cascading gain stages. So at the minute I'm playing the Victory Super Kraken, which has cascading gain stages, as you'd expect. All of those lovely ECC 83s are cascading into each other, but it also has, now I'm not using any pedals for this, but it also has a built-in FET boost. Now the FET boost is tuned a little like a tube screamer, which is something that I used to do. So I would take something like a tube screamer and I would lay it on top of a dirty amplifier. So a dirty amp might be something like this. Now I actually have a tube screamer here, so if I was to hit that, it has that kind of effect. Without, and with. Get out of that. If we use it in the amp, if we're feeling fancy, we can use the tube screamer, the amp's internal boost, and then the cascading gain stages. Which can sound very cool. So I do, but something that I don't do personally is I don't stack gain pedals particularly. So I will sometimes stack fuzzes, but generally speaking, that's more for a sound design kind of thing. So maybe I would take something like this. Oh, let's find a sound that's going to be conducive to that, because that's going to be really, it might be okay. That's pretty cool. I might take that sound and then I might stack an octave fuzz on top of it. So I'll do that, but the reason I don't use the gain stack in the traditional sense of, say, here's my OCD and here is my clone type pedal, I'm going to stack those, is because I don't really get my gain sounds from pedals. Personally, that's a personal choice. I tend to get my gain sounds from amps, and if I'm using a modeler, which I use live, I'll use captures or models of an amp to get the gain sound, and I'll sometimes tickle it with a boost pedal. So gain stacking in that sense, if that makes any sense to you. But again, a high gain tube amp or valve amp is gain stacking by its very design. So I guess, yeah. Bit on the deep side there. So anyway, here's another cool question, right, from our friend Live to Play Guitar. Oh, I want to highlight this one as well. Daryl Queen, can we get an Ian and Nick tag team live stream one day? That would be killer. Sorry, I'm greedy. You're not greedy. I'd love to do that. So we're going to try and get Ian into a live stream or two, just kind of on his own, which would be great. We have some guests coming up, by the way. We've got a very exciting guest that I can't tell you about yet, but we've got a real big name in the blues world is going to come and join us on a stream in September. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Hopefully that's going to be the beginning of a run of guest streams. This is part of what we've been working on behind the scenes. Along with upgrading the image quality, we're working on bringing you even higher quality audio. We think the audio is pretty good, but we're going to work on bringing you even higher quality audio. But we're also working on guest streams. So we've got some really exciting stuff. Jason Carter says, the more Geordies, the better. Jason, I agree with you, my man, but we would say that. We're biased. So anyway, right, Live to Play Guitar says, hey Nick, when the chords change, how do you keep track of your ideas with the chord when the chord switches fast? Well, what I try to do is I'll try and move the fewest parts. So I'll kind of anticipate what the chord changes are going to be, and I'll move as few things as I need to get that. That's basically the way I'll do it. And I'll try and keep some kind of, if possible, I'll try and keep some kind of melodic flow going through the chords and just move one or two notes out of my collection, if that makes sense. I mean, soloing over chord changes is a deep and it's almost like a lifelong pursuit. You know, guitar players have made they've made careers out of learning how to solo over chord changes. Do you know what I mean? I think Tom Quayle was the guy that kind of popularized it for the YouTube generation, and Tom's one of the, it's one of the preeminent fusion guitar players in the world. You know, he's made it his life's mission to be great at playing over changes, to be great at playing with fantastic time, and to have phenomenal legato technique, among other things. Tom's a very talented guy. We'd like to get him on a stream too as well, and he's got a great streaming setup, so I don't know why that's not happened yet, but maybe we'll work on it. Maybe when we get into Fusion Land and out of our little blues kick, maybe that's when we'll bring Tom on. So anyway, listen, guys, thank you so much for having me. My name's Nick Jennison. We have run clean out of time. Remember, if you are not subscribed to us already, please make sure you do. It helps no end. Also, go to guitarinteractivemagazine.com/GI Plus to get so many lessons. Just a comedic amount of lessons. There's some absolutely fabulous stuff. Just endless amounts of content. Whatever you could possibly be interested in, we got some lessons for you. In the meantime, gonna play out on another blues backing track. I'll see if I remember the changes. It's a lot of fun. This is the slow blues in E minor. It's not really a slow blues. It's a 16-bar blues, but it is a lot of fun. Really, really nice. It's gonna sound like this. You'll notice a lot of the tricks that we talked about today in this one. Do bear in mind it's an E now though, so let's throw that on, see what we get. In the meantime, gonna bid you adieu. My name's Nick Jennison with Guitar Interactive GI Plus. I will see you next week. for having me, guys. Gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna keep playing over this track for the rest of the evening, I think. But in the meantime, check this out. This is what you get as part of your GI Plus membership. Links to get your membership down below. We'll see you guys next week. My name's Nick Jennison, and it's a pleasure to introduce to you GI Plus, the brand new lesson platform brought to you by Guitar Interactive. We've assembled a team of the best players and educators in the world to bring you exclusive lessons covering everything from metal to blues to fusion and everything in between. Want to level up your shred chops? Check out How to Play Fast by Andy James. Or how about sweep picking with Rick Graham? Or maybe country's more your bag? Well, how about a full-length exclusive country guitar course from Andy Wood? Interested in learning how to play over changes? Well, members get access to hours of exclusive lessons from fusion maestro Tom Quayle. Or maybe you want your playing to sound more soulful? Well, who better than Chris Buck to show you how it's done? Or perhaps you want to learn the secrets of the masters. Well, members get access to over 60 feature-length tech sessions where our tutors painstakingly decode the styles of players like David Gilmour, Eddie Van Halen, John Petrucci, Larry Carlton, Slash, Tosin Abasi, Paul Gilbert, and many more. You get all this along with exclusive live webinars, free backing tracks, competitions, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for GI Plus today.